preference.
Voting stations and apply for a special vote. In previous elections, we had provisions where people can simply walk in at our voting stations and apply for a special vote and be granted one. But we have since changed the framework. We needed to make sure that everyone who participates in special votes was pre-approved so that we know exactly the numbers to expect, both for the voting station visits as well as the home visits. Whilst we managed to open all our voting stations, we have a total of 332 out of the 4,885 voting stations in the province where we didn't have applications for special votes. So we do not expect those voting stations to open because they neither had applications for voting stations and application for home visits. Whilst we managed to open on time in all our voting stations, we had areas where we were affected by service delivery protest, which is what we had planned for in the province because we expected that these were to take place in different parts of the province. Mostly affected were municipalities in Ilembe district, Mandeni, Indwedwe, Maphumulo, and then in the south coast, we had Dubuhlebezwe, which is in Ikopo, and then we have areas within eThekwini municipality. Fortunately, we had geared up for that kind of eventuality in the province because we have been receiving threats in various parts of the province where people were intending using the election to voice out their grievances against failure or lack of service delivery in some of the municipalities. And we had planned together with the SAPS to have our systems in place to respond should all those processes take place. You probably are already aware that our staff were locked in at KwaMaphumulo municipality together with the area managers that were carrying materials that should have been delivered in all voting stations in KwaPhumulo, but swift action by the SAPS ensured that we managed to unlock that situation, and we were then able to deliver voting stations deliver material to all the voting stations. It's highly likely that we were late in some of the voting stations in KwaPhumulo because the entire consignment of materials was locked in inside the municipal facilities where we are storing our materials in KwaMaphumulo, but we managed to deliver to all the voting stations eventually. We also had incidents in Mangosuthu Highway in Umlazi that was blocked at the entrance of Umlazi Township, where fortunately at the time when the blockage occurred, our area managers had already driven through the entrance of the township and were already on the other side and were able to proceed with distributing materials to voting stations regardless. We expect that the SAPS is going to be monitoring the situation. We are constantly in touch and we are reporting all incidents of any forms of blockages to the SAPS, and through their swift action we are managing to unblock areas that have been blocked. Reports are in around Echozini as well, something similar happened, and we have reports again that in Okahlamba and the former Mchezi municipality, which is a mesh municipality between the former Loskop areas, the Mbabazane municipality and Mchezi municipality. This now Dr. Langalibalele Dube municipality. We also had blockages and the SAPS again responded accordingly. We are confident that the process is going to run smooth in the province. The cooperation that we are having with the members of the security cluster in this province have ensured that wherever there are blockages, those are unlocked. The Home Affairs offices are open today and will run the same hours as the IEC. They will close at 5 p.m. today, and on election day, they will operate from 7 to 9. This is to allow people who haven't yet collected their IDs to collect them from Home Affairs offices, but it's also an opportunity for people who have lost their IDs to apply for their temporary ID certificates. Those kind of applications will be fast-tracked to make sure that people do have their temporary ID certificates to be able to vote today or on the election day itself. I would like to leave it at that, and we are open to take questions. I would, however, want to acknowledge the presence of the SAPS with us here today, who will also be giving us the report on what is transpiring on the ground and how they are managing the situation. Mr. Ngwera, thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Masina, for your updates, and if we could please take further questions if there are any, so she can respond to them. Any questions? Doesn't look like there are any questions. Then we will. Oh, thank you.
What sort of contingencies do you have in place for that?
Contingency plan.
Let's continue.
Let's take a few more questions. Okay.
Thank you. We've been working quite closely with the municipality from the time they experienced the flash floods that were experienced in the province, right through the whole of last week when we experienced the protest by eThekwini municipality. There are two levels at which we are dealing with this. The one level is where we are dealing with the voting infrastructure that was affected through the floods, which includes damages to roads and bridges, and some of the voting stations that were damaged. In terms of voting stations that were damaged, we only have 2 in eThekwini that were affected, and we have put up tents on the grounds of the voting stations. We also have one of our facility that was affected, which is a community hall.
All right, so we're going to come out of the IEC Center for now. We're going to have more news for you at the top of the hour.